to start, like to kind of further expand on I guess that like pocket down versus pocket out. Um, I think a lot of people think in regards to like, oh, if my pocket is showing towards the baseball and my hand is open, like that must give me a better chance of pocketing it. And there could be some truth to that. The unfortunate thing is like we have, at least from my understanding, like no data on pocket percentages and correlation to glove loads and depth and things like that. It's a very hard thing to measure. But one of the things that I think about is, since we are looking at this from an aggressive standpoint of really attacking the pitch so that we create organic post catch movement, since we are going out to get the ball before it gets too far out of the zone or too difficult for me to handle, there's a component there where like we are having to make a move to go get to the ball. And so I think a lot of kids struggle with that piece, right? That first move to the ball. They generally catch the ball too deep. They tend to, we all see it. The glove floats up and they kind of float back around here. And like any move that they make to the ball is like kind of out of sync and late at that point. So for me, kind of, with the pocket down, like your pocket's not on that pitch. It's on the ground. So like it forces you to have to do something to make a move to go catch the baseball. And so that's one of the components, and kind of just to further clarify, I guess, on why I think that. And then in terms of building that first move and how do we get better at pocketing baseballs from that position? There's a PVC drill that we do. It's probably up on my social media somewhere. It's something that we invented a couple years back. And really what happens is, the catcher is facing the machine. We have a bucket on their arm side or something of relative height to the player, and a PVC pipe hangs out in front of them. We space that out to where the PVC pipe is just behind where they're going to be at extension, right? So what has to happen now is, from this position where you're loaded, in order to catch that ball, you've got to be out and under first before we can make the move up. And so if there's any move to come up early, like we're going to hit that pipe on the way out. Even if we get out there a little bit and we don't get out there far enough and we don't make an aggressive move to the ball, like you come up and you're going to hit the pipe, and the pipe's not really restrained by anything. So like if they hit it, there's no like real risk of injury or anything like that. But that's kind of the go-to. And we start with plyos with that, or even just flips. Then we'll graduate to doing it off the machine with foam balls, and then eventually baseballs. And then from there, you can actually get kind of crazy with it and do some adjustability stuff where, like, if they're going to go, get a pitch down, it's obviously this way, but if they have to go get a pitch up, they come through this way. And like, you're just learning how to master the space that you have to work with. So we do that. And then I think the second thing would be understanding pocket angle and like how to create it. So we do a lot of deflections, and sometimes it varies. Like we'll have guys deflect to first base, back to the pitcher, to third base, just understanding like how to let the pocket unfold and get it to where we want it to be for a certain pitch. But I agree. I think that you got a lot of young guys that have what you described, which is that like that real handsy, cocked wrist, like wrist push. And then you wonder why they've had to replace their pocket lace, 10 times in the last 6 months, and why nothing ever sounds good when they catch it. It's because that's actually the web, your pocket's facing beyond deck circle.
Well, I think that goes into like that first day where I'm like, hey, we tend to always be like, well, if I'm here square with this glove, I feel like I'm squared up. But the reality is, like, when I turn and look at them, I'm like, now where's my pocket at? And they're like, well, it actually looks that way. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I mean, you're literally, when you think you're square this way, your pocket's actually open to the first base side of the field. So like square is actually, we talk about like, you got to kind of feel like that thing is facing the shortstop, even in just your normal setup, because that is really the glove being square and the pocket being square. Not to mention the idea that most of what we're going to see is going to come from that angle with the amount of right-handed pitchers we have, with the amount of breaking balls we get moving that direction, that we're going to need to err towards that side most of the time anyways. And if we're going to get them to understand the path that they need on the ball further out to that arm side, like we really got to get to here to start to be able to get out and around that pitch the other way. So